So, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. This is our second meetup in a series of 6 meetups that we've arranged in order to basically give back to the Berlin community that we grew up from. So, I'm Niv, I'm the Chief Product Officer of AUTO1. I joined 5 years ago when we were 5 people in tech. And today we've grown to a bit more than that. I will show you in a minute. We have 2 speakers today for you. I will introduce them also in a minute, but before that I have to, with great pleasure, to give you a quick intro to the company. It's quick, as I said. So basically we are AUTO1. We were founded in 2012, headquartered in Berlin, and we are Europe's leading digital automotive platform. And our mission is basically to take the stress out of used car trading by using technology. And you would think that only consumers are stressed about used car trading, but actually dealers are also stressed about it because we solve a lot of problems for them as well. We have over 4,000 employees across Europe, of which 400 are in tech. We do business in 30 countries, and so far we've traded 1.5 million cars. Now, if you want to imagine how many cars are 1.5 million, imagine 1,500 football fields. So pretty big. We trade them with 60,000 professional partners, and at any given moment we have 30,000 cars in stock. It's an easier number to imagine, I think. So 30,000 cars is about 33 football fields, calculated this morning. Yeah, true story. And we buy those cars from private consumers mainly through our branch network, which has 400 branches across Europe. Now, those cars have generated us 2.9 billion euros revenue in 2018. I would have loved to share the 2019 numbers, but they are not out yet. So a bit about our brands we run. I think those of you who live here probably know Verkaufen dein Auto.de. Verkaufen dein Auto.de and its sister local brands in Spain, Italy, Noi compriamo auto, compramos coches, etc. is basically our C2B platform from which we source most of our inventory. And this inventory is sold in 2 ways. It's sold B2B on auto1.com, and it's sold C2B after refurbishment, cleanup, registration, and a few more services that make customers very happy on autohero.com. And this was quick, right, about the company, and now we will get to our 2 presenters. So Ella joined 5 years ago as an intern in product management. We saw immediately a lot of potential, and we basically threw her in the pool and hoped she will swim, and she swam very well. So today she is senior, and she's in charge of our pricing and purchasing platforms. She will talk about localization in an ever-growing startup like ours. Alex joined 4 years ago as a QA, similar to Ella. He showed a lot of potential, and again, we threw him in the water and told him, okay, you seem to have leadership potential, maybe you lead our 2 or 3 QAs that we had then. And he swam very well. So today he's the director of QA, and he will talk about shifting up your test gear.
And yeah, so today I'm going to talk about, wow, it's weird. Today I'm going to talk about how we are doing testing at AUTO1 and what kind of challenges you can see and you can face with companies that is growing that fast to that big. But first I will introduce you to our QA department. Currently we have around 40 QA engineers. All QA engineers are part of cross-functional teams. All QA engineers are doing both manual and automation testing. We don't outsource it to some other test automation team. Everything is done inside of the team. Most of automation testing we're trying to do in a scope of release, and actually we're trying to go even further. We try to automate everything we have before we have feature ready to test, and then we can actually start using automation tests to have some real, some results. And all QA engineers also can do both manual and like API and UI automation testing. And now about myself, I'm Alex. Yeah, here it's Alexander, but actually nobody calls me Alexander. Everybody calls me Alex. I'm 11 years in tech, and I'm also 11 years in quality assurance. and I'm 4 amazing years at AUTO1 Group. And previously I worked on many different products. I think like 6 years I was working on a products for enterprise document handling solution, and last 5 years I'm mostly working in e-commerce. So to give a bit of background, what do we have to deal on a daily basis? So we have more than 4,000 end-to-end tests, we have more than 300 APIs, and we have more than 20 websites. And to make it even more challenging, we have a lot of connections and a lot of relations between different services and the platforms, which makes it even more challenging. So today we'll cover 3 topics. How did we design our testing framework? How do we deal with the test data management? And how do we do test management and reporting? And I will start with challenge number 1. Designing your testing framework. Well, basically, when you design your testing framework, you need to, you don't have just to focus on designing something forever, yeah? It's very important to know when to make a change, because in a company, for example, like AUTO1, where tech department is growing, business is growing, so everything is changing, so it's important to know when to make this change. And I will guide you through a couple of stages of evolution of our testing framework. So for example, usually you start here, you have automation, test automation project, you have some scripts, for example, to test your web API, and then what happens next? You add tools, DB tools, email tools, everything on top, other web application test helpers, and helpers for helpers. So basically, at the end, you realize that it's getting too big. You cannot really manage it. You cannot control it very well, and you need to do something. Yeah, you need to make a change here, because if you do it later, then it will be more painful. And how the change happens? You start to divide it into multiple projects. Yeah, so you create a project for your for one application, for another, for API, for another API, and everything is cool. Then, well, those projects are also growing, and you create different tools. So now those components are growing based on all other projects. Yeah, so it just keep growing, and every time you need to make a change, you do it everywhere. And if you have 20 projects, so you cannot really work with this anymore, because it just doesn't scale. Yeah, so it doesn't scale with, and you cannot keep up with the growing tech. So here you need to make a change. And we're always also challenging these solutions we do, and then we say, okay, now it's a time to change. And basically what we did, we took all common components, we put it into our automation toolbox, and it's basically a set of internal libraries, and we can, so now we have everything in one place, and we can integrate it in any project. So for example, if one team is building today an API, we create API tests for this, for this new service, then we create different, so the testing team will, QA team will create some wrapper around these APIs, and we put it into toolbox, and a couple of weeks later, mobile team can reuse it for test data preparation, for example. And it has also a separate release cycle, so you just basically need to update your version, and you use a new version of your toolbox. And we have right now, I think in 2 years since we started the release process, we have around 1,000 releases, which is quite a lot. So the second challenge I mentioned about test data management, and why it can be challenging for you. Imagine you have a scenario where you want to test, you bought a product and you want to submit a review. Yeah, like on Amazon, we're getting email and so on. Sorry, I just need some water. Okay, better. Yeah, so we have a test scenario. We want to submit the feedback for purchase product. What do you need to do before? You need to create user, you need to add user details, billing address, delivery address, set default, payment settings, purchase product, deliver products, and here you go. Here you're submitting a review, right? So everything you just did before, it was your preparation for your testing. You don't test that you can create a product. Maybe you do, but it's not really a point here, yeah? So point here, so we want to test that user can submit reviews. The rest from here, it's your dependency and it does data preparation. So let's look at timeline, how it looks. So in this example, for example, it can take 3 minutes if you would go like a regular flow through some UI. It would probably require a couple of applications, and it can take you around 3 minutes. If you're lucky enough and you can use your backend system and you can use your API, you can reduce it. You can reduce it a lot, because actually when you submit a review, it takes 30 seconds, yeah, on this. And the rest you can do, for example, with API preparation. So the problem here can be if you have a couple of hundred tests running in parallel, and all of these tests are starting to shoot your API, so you're basically running not a test, you're running a stress test on your system, and it's not really helping you to submit a review, because then it might be not too much, okay, yeah, so you can handle a lot these days, but still, it's all unnecessary calls. You don't really need to do it, and it's still 1 minute and 30 seconds, and we look and we say, okay, can we do better? Let's do something here. So what we did, we moved the test data generation as a separate process. Yeah, so we are running data generation day and night. Whenever we see that we are running out of test data, we just keep running it, and we are still reusing the same API. We just don't reuse it at runtime with that amount of calls, for example, that we do. Yeah, so we just have this data waiting for us, and yeah, in the test data lake. Then the next part is the consumer part. It's your test, which are talking to your data lake through the API. So basically, in your test, you inject which kind of data, you specify which kind of data will be used in your test, and it will call API, it will get your test data, and then you can start running your test. And the result of this will be this, yeah? So half a second, you get a test data, and you test what you actually want to test. And what we have here, well, it of course depends on your setup, but can be 2 to 60 times faster test. Yeah, so I did math. I tried multiple examples. I mean, I really did it. So we had test use running for 80 minutes, I think, and we made it in 1 minute. And I never ever able to make the previous setup of 80 minutes green, and it was like way better. You have more capacity to run tests in parallel because you simply, I mean, environment is chill, yeah, so you don't make that many calls, so you can run more, and you have less risk of something will go wrong in the middle. For example, if you have a dependency on another system and you need to go to another system, and that team broke the system, so your test will fail in the middle, and you even didn't start testing anything, yeah, so you didn't start even testing because you have a dependency. And you have your tests simply more readable because you have more readable code because you have less code. You don't have this code actually that you would normally have when you do this test preparation. And the challenge number 3 is test management and reporting. And this is when we were starting to shift up our gear, which means to get to the next level, the tools we used were not really enough for us. So we wanted to have a bit more functionality, and we couldn't really get it from external tools we were using. And this is how we created our own tool for quality management system, which we call Shift, which was for a very long time was called amazingly QA dashboard. But yeah, then it's really grew into standalone application, which we're using right now. Here you might ask, why? Yeah, why do you do it? Like, there's so many tools on the market, and yeah, I know we tried many of them, and I have a couple of whys. So first why was integration, which was quite important part for us. So we want to have a direct connection between automation tests and manual tests. Of course, you can do it with other tools. You can reuse the API, and we did it, and it worked. So, well, it worked, but it requires quite a lot of maintenance and a headache. So we were missing ability to run automation tests right from your tool. Yeah, so normally you would need to go somewhere to Jenkins to find this test job or any site, and then you need to run it and understand what is happening. So we really wanted to run it, just like selecting some tests and run it. Oh, Slack integration, yeah, was very much desired feature because we have a lot of processes based on Slack, a lot of communication goes in Slack. It was very desired feature, and Jira and Confluence integration. So this is what we end up. I have like parts of screenshots because honestly I couldn't put like more on the screen. Yeah, so we have Jenkins under the hood, so it's integrated with our tool. We can just start the test. You can select checkbox, I want to run automation test, whatever is automated in the suite, and everybody can actually use it and find it pretty quickly. Slack, so we have a lot of different notifications, just some examples that on a test summary report, on when we quite customize it, that we can define what kind of messages we want to send, on which kind of events, on which notification, and Jira to collect bug reports, and Confluence to integrate with the product specs and attack specs. So the second why was communication. As I said, Slack was very desired feature, and yeah, so we also, as a communication, we were missing some framework for test documentation review process. So before we use a test trail, and for example, it doesn't really have like some features to do review, yeah, of testing. You can do it. You'll figure out a way, but still, it wasn't really built in, and we really wanted it. And some, again, event-based notifications and can be integrated into your workflow. So this is what we have. So for a test review, I mean, it's pretty simple. We have comments, and people receiving notifications like, hey, you have a new comments, like your colleague suggested you on some better approaches, and so on, as well as a custom notification, so we can react faster if, what is this? Yeah, so if we know something failed, we immediately tag the person, and like it's immediately we're checking that if something didn't work, that we can react faster, so it integrates better with our workflows, and a lot more, like when somebody completes task, release a feature, fixing tests, and so on. And the next why was productivity. Well, I cannot say only what I will show next was about productivity. Everything else was also about productivity, but productivity was a very important part for us. And well, it more like, so I wouldn't say it's actually challenge, but it's more like desired features to have. So we want to have some aggregating test results from test runs and analyze those test results. Also, we want to have real-time test automation reporting. We want to make the software to able to make decision for us when you don't need like human to look into this results. And yeah, we want to have like this tool to build for us automation tests as well, and to have a better feature quality overview. So I will show you some examples. For example, here it's Allure report. So whoever is doing automation testing or in general in testing should know it. It's a really great reporting tool. We like it, we use it, so there's nothing wrong about this tool. But what we were missing is, yeah, so you see something, well, something is not green here, and to understand what is actually not green, you have to go one by one and you check, and you spend time. It's still okay. So it's still okay, but we want more. So instead, what we have here, we immediately we show aggregated result in a widget. Yeah, so we know that okay, we have a couple of 500s from some services. We have one issue that we couldn't identify, and we have one bug which is already reported, and it immediately gives you an overview what actually happened with this test run, which also improves productivity and speed up everything. So it's another example. For example, yeah, so same Allure report. So it's, in this case, it's now just one single UI test. We click a button and nothing happened. We were waiting for some element to show up, but it didn't. And now in order to understand what is wrong, so we would normally have to go to this application, understand what this test is actually doing and try to reproduce it. and if it's a bug or if it's not a bug, or imagine you're just before release and like time is important and it can be late, so it's time. So what we do, for example, we collect all logs during our testing. In our logs, we can see, okay, after we clicked it, we got in a console 500 error. Yeah, so now we already know what happened here. And we can identify that this was a product bug. And yeah, we put console, like we put some message to, like, why did we decide that it's a product bug, which saves you potentially a lot of time, because now you go to the team and you say, hey, we have 500 when I try to submit something, can you please have a look? And not wasting half an hour or hour trying to reproduce it. It's also more visible for developers, for example. Yeah, another one. So when you create automation tests, you still do manual work. Yeah, so you need to go and you need to type manually. Yeah, it's still automation, and so even this part can be automated, right? Because you still do a lot of copy pasting. It's you kind of use templates, so it's not everything. Maybe sometimes, but this can be very much automated. And we decided, well, why not? Let's do it. So, for example, when you create your test scenarios, we just can pre-build all automation tests that you want to do here, yeah? And you can just here copy and go to GitHub, or maybe next feature will be push it from here to GitHub, and you already saved a lot of time instead of just going and doing all this copy pasting, which also increase your productivity, that you can focus on what you're doing now. You know that some part will be done automatically. And the last part for us was to have better overview of a feature quality. So normally, you can have multiple tools, and to understand what is going on with the feature testing, you might need to go through many different tools, and you're losing actually focus what you're doing. You might need to go to your CI or CD system or test reporting, automation reporting tool to understand, to get some automation reports. And if you want to get bugs, you need to go to another tool. If you want to get something else, for example, like feature specs or product specs, you go to another page. And we decided, okay, we can aggregate it. Yeah, we can put it all in one place, and then it's way more visible for you, for your team, for product, for team lead, and for whoever is actually interested in testing of this feature. So it's again about productivity and being focus on your work, what you do now, and it's just like helping you to stay focused. And I think that was the last slide from me. Yes.
No, so these presentations about giving back to the community, and here Alex has presented our shift system. We're in the process of cleaning up the shift system, and in due course, it will be open sourced and available for everybody to use.